the previous superintendent when I served on the board the first time. And because I was confused, because I knew what was going on during that time, the expectations, the oversight, and I wanted to know what do you think has happened? And I know teachers, principals working hard, but what I heard from a lot of the teachers and the principals, there was no collaboration with schools and central office. No support. And I just felt like it wasn't really a vision, or all of the students in the district were a priority. Maybe some, but not all.
All right, Dr. Burke, and then we're going over here.
He's giving me a title I don't have. But I did get my doctorate degree at one of the schools where I taught.
That's right, that's right.
Good evening, everyone. Do you mind if I pick it back?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Burke, and I've been in Richmond Public Schools as a teacher specialist, and a principal for over 38 years.
You wear it well.
Principal of Chimborazo Elementary School for 19 years. Chimborazo then was the second lowest performing school in the state of Virginia. Fairfield was the lowest. So in the East End during that time, you all know the story of Chimborazo Elementary School, if not Dr. Newbill and Delegate McQuinn, who was on the school board then. We worked things through. We had a strategic plan. Accountability was in place every 9 weeks. The current superintendent during my tenure, we had to go through hours of child by child, program by program. So you could ask me, parents would call, why isn't my child reading on the level? I had close to 800 children. You have to pull it up, and it wasn't on the computers. This was by hand. We had situation rooms. I know Armstrong had the situation room. Some people call it war rooms, where every child, we used codes, not names. Names were on the other side. Every day at Chimborazo, we walked through so children could see whether they were red, yellow, or green. Green meant you were passing SOLs. Yellow means you were almost there. So there were no surprises at the end of the year. When I retired in 2014, the direction changed. The accountability for the balanced scorecard, which is an accountability piece. That every 9 weeks for a whole team, where is Dr. Fitcher? He knows. A whole team of persons from the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and we had the who?
Charting the course.
Yes, charting the course, where you sat there with your specialists, your guidance counselors, and you went through every child's data step by step, so no child was left behind. So what happened? All of the schools were fully accredited. Okay? Also, what happened that was great is that, this is through Governor Warner, when he was in place. I had over 300, and when I got there, we had one partnership. Over 300 different partnerships. Not individuals, partnerships. Because you can't do it by yourself. And that's why I'm glad we're having this meeting tonight. I want to share a story with you about one of my students at Armstrong, who was a former student. Dr. Newbill and I and Delegate McQuinn handled this in September, Churchill reunion. Dr. Newbill received a phone call, a meeting that we attended a couple nights before. And I saw this tall young man. I said, he looks familiar. Most of the families in Churchill and in the West End, Oregon Hill area or North Side I know. South Side is the only side I never worked in. Never went across the river. Okay? And that's okay. I still love you. The young man was homeless at the high school in our district. So if you know the ladies that I had the opportunity to work with, we got in the car, went over to the house on Grace Street, picked him up, said, where are you going to take him? To the Churchill reunion. We didn't know. I was campaigning then. My husband gave him a shirt for Cheryl Burke, and he just joined us in. We said, what are we going to do? This young man has no place to stay. So one of the ministers in Fulton took him in. He said, I can keep him for the weekend. Now, this young man was then 18 years old, which meant he was never in foster care. but the family separated. A lot was going on. That young man had a 4.0 average and had no place to lay his head at night. Okay, we talk about resiliency. Well, young man was doing very well with the minister that was keeping him. And I don't think we had a chance to finish talking about that today, Dr. Newbill. Spring break, he disappeared. He disappeared. We couldn't find him. Thank goodness for social media, because someone told the story. He disappeared. Everybody was on, and thank goodness I texted him and said, where are you? He sends me a map. You know how you do the map? Now I'm somewhere near Hopewell. No, I said, what is the address? He gives me a big question mark. Well, he found love. He found love. Senior in high school. Full ride to Virginia Union. Here it is, spring break. What is that, April? Was it April? March, April, whenever it was.
He fell in love.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm like, what happened to Union? I don't know. What happened to getting your high school diploma? I don't know. I have friends of mine that put money together to pay for his expenses and all. Smart young man, resilient young man, playing football. Well, we finally found him. He's out in Hopewell, back with his mother. You read the story, I hope, in the Richmond Times-Dispatch a couple of days ago. Was it Tuesday morning? That's another young man. But we have so many students. So I finally found this young man. He's been absent far beyond the 18 days, 20 days, but he has passed everything. Now, he moved from North Carolina to Hopewell to Richmond. He's passed. He's ahead of himself. He's brilliant. So what did I do? I said, you got to get to school. Gave him gas cards. Through our social worker at the high school, gave him the McKinney Veto Act, which is for homeless students. They gave him gas cards. Mama's car broke down. Where is your gas card? I don't know. I said, okay, I can't drive way out there. I don't get up before 7 o'clock. I get to be at school at 7. This is way out of Hopewell. So I said, can you take Uber? He said, I can. I said, I'll set you up. And that's how he got to school this morning. He's not been since. He went twice to pick up his gas cards. Mama's car broke down. He took his SOL test today and he passed it. So tomorrow morning, we're going to do Uber again. On graduation day, we're going to do Uber again. This is where I want to see our partnership in place. For somebody to pick up the phone, to call some of our children and say, are you up yet? Do you have what you need to go to school? If you can't, because a lot of people work. So if you can't go to school to tutor or to volunteer, our children get into more trouble after school. You don't hear about shootings in schools in the city of Richmond, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't hear about that. It's after school hours. In my district, we have a lot of that, the fights and the shoot. It's after. It's one neighborhood after the other one. So just think, if you pick up the phone or text a young man or young lady, what are you doing today? Meet me at McDonald's. And this young man now is 19, so it's technically not much we can do. But he could not wait to tell me this afternoon. I was in another meeting. That's why some of us were at the community of Caring, where all the East End schools are being recognized this afternoon. He called me. Okay, okay, Auntie. He's created his own family. I'm ready to go back home to Hopewell. I said, okay, I'll set you up with Uber, and I'll do the same tomorrow. Call up. So my point with that is, maybe you don't have the time to go into a school and tutor. But if every child, this is something that we did when I was principal, my goal was for every child to have, we worked up to maybe to about 300, but I had a couple of hundred left out there, had somebody they could connect with. Because a lot of our children are struggling, a lot of parents are incarcerated, a lot of parents are working 2 and 3 jobs, and they're tired. I learned parental involvement is sending his or her child to school. That's check for me. You can send your child to school every day, on time. We'll give you breakfast if you walk in there at 9 or 10 o'clock, it doesn't matter. It's not my food, it's the government's, okay? So if we have somebody in place, we used to buy alarm clocks, but most children have cell phones. Call them, that's all. Wouldn't it be great if the NAACP took on Armstrong High School? No offense from my other colleagues, okay? Just think about it. We have 5 or 6 people to be in place, aunties and uncles, call it what you want, just to check on, do you have your supplies? Do you need money for a treat at lunch today? Do you need, and you know whether you're being played or not. Most of them are walking geniuses, but not given the opportunity or resources. So, but I thank you for this opportunity tonight. Thank you all so much. But I'm sure Sade, Dr. Harris would love to have a list of people who can just be on a phone bank. Now, the catch with this is you may be losing my, okay, they change their cell phones often. But thank goodness for social media. We talk about taking phones out of school. I'm not in favor of that. Social media, when you're sitting on social and Facebook with all your decorative clothing on, and you find out, oh, you at such and such house, and you call such and such. Like a young lady yesterday, I saw it at the event at the museum, and I hugged her and I said, "Tell your buddy I said hello," because that was his girlfriend. How did you know? Nobody's supposed to know. I do Facebook, Instagram.
All right, next
So
question.
thank you so much for that opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Bird. Next question.
Hi, I apologize for getting in late. And I know that I heard somebody talking about SOLs and then I heard them talking about graduation, but those were my two questions. As a parent of a graduating senior this year, have you looked or have we looked at the stipulations for the 18 equals 0? So on the paper where it's posted, because 18 equals 0 has been a big thing, right? And so the position is if you've been suspended, your days don't count.
Correct.
However, if there's a medical leave, that's not informed on the paper. So they had to go through the waiver process. They have to endure the process. Yet the person who's the disruption in the school, their days are waived. Why do they not have to go through a process? Because of their behavior, which got them put out of the school. So why should my son have to go through the rigmarole of me trying to make sure all his stuff is in order for him to get the credits that he needs, versus the kid who's been put out 68 days because they've been a disruption, because none of those days count because they were waiting for panel, they were suspended for 10 days. Those days didn't count against them. That's my first question. I have another one. But
Sure.
I'll let you.
In short, because for suspensions, we are putting the child out of school.
Or did the child put themselves out of school?
Well, I understand your point, but ultimately, it's our decision to put them out.
Okay, so what
And-
about an athlete who got injured on a football field, who had ample days for RPS? So that's an athlete of yours that was also out of school for athletics for your system in your school. They have to fight just as hard. They shouldn't have to fight just as hard as the kid who was fighting and on social media and who's probably, and not to stigmatize or anything, but why isn't a fight or something in place for that kid too?
So, I certainly am taking the feedback that we need to do even more to make the process of getting those waivers
Oh, the process is awful.
even easier.
Oh, the process is awful. And then to be told this morning that as a parent you shouldn't even been here was what I was told.
Is this at TJ?
Yes, sir. This is at Thomas Jefferson today.
What's that going on over there?
And so there was, some parents showed up because what was said to my son on Tuesday was, here's this waiver, you need to get it signed because you got excessive absences and you may not graduate because you know the 18 equals 0 rule, which is posted, and it says that if you miss 18 days out of a class, excused or unexcused, that it equals 0 credit. But fill out this waiver and I get it home to me as a parent. So this is a 17-year-old kid coming, and I mind you, this is also the same kid that after he did his SOLs for this year, passed them, he was told 2 weeks ago that he had, one more. I just feel like the process for graduation should not be happening in June. I get that there's a process. I'm gonna respect it. I get that there are things in place because there's some there's some kids who are just skipping class and not doing that what they're supposed to. I hear it. I know. I'm an active parent as well, but I'm also an active advocate for other people's kids. I'm the house where I feed the kids, so I get it, right? So I understand. Until you're the mom that has to sit in the seat of being like, no, I show up. And then to be questioned of why you show up. It doesn't seem like, even though we're saying, oh, community, oh, show up, oh, be a part. And your position is, I didn't have this issue at any other school. I don't know why parents are here. Because my 17-year-old was fearful that, hey, I may not graduate. So what did I do from Tuesday to today? Got all of the information. I got dates. of every time he was out of school, because I don't know. Because not only was it that he had to write on the waiver, or I wrote on the waiver, it's now up to the principal to say yes or no for a recommendation. And then this guy who has no idea of who my kid is gets to sit at the table and say yay or nay. And then after that, so hypothetically, if my son was a denial, right, because he wasn't, he was approved. If he was a denial, I would find out today at 3 o'clock. There's no letter that comes home because it's not created yet, because this process is new. So at 3 o'clock he comes home and he's like, Mom, I'm denied. We barely can get phone calls in. So at 3 I'm going to try to call somebody to say, hey, what's this process? Then you're going to give me a response by tomorrow? I doubt it. Everybody is so busy, and his graduation is Monday.
So can I ask a question? You said that that somebody sat at the table and told you yay or nay?
No, that's the process. The process is we get, the waiver goes to the child.
Right.
I heard today either, and this is from Harry Hughes, either the child or the parent can fill out the form. My child decided to bring it home because he's 17 and he barely can spell with all this technology, right? You know, so give me this form. I'm going to fill out and make sure I got this stuff right. I send the form back. We found out on Tuesday, though. His graduation is Monday. Get the form on Tuesday. I fill it out. It's turned in on Wednesday. Wednesday, administration of the school is supposed to review and then make a recommendation per each kid. Then there's another meeting that leaves all the parents out. I mind you, not yet have I been included, but it's my kid's life. And then y'all sit around a table, administration, and then Harry Hughes, whoever the administrator is at all of the schools, and Harry Hughes sits at a table, and then they decide collectively approval or denial of that recommendation. So if you get denied, when are you able to kind of like battle about my denial? What makes it so justifiable? So as a mom, I show up, because if you have denial, I got proof. You know what I mean? I get that people get over, and I understand, I'm with you. But if I've turned in my documentation all year long, why did I still have to do a waiver? If it's documented through, because when he went out for surgery, I turned in papers. When physical therapy came up, I turned in papers. So if it was always a paper trail, why should we have even had to do a waiver?
Okay, Mr. Superintendent, can you answer that? We gotta move on. But we need to answer.
Yeah. So I apologize. This has been extremely frustrating for you, and I certainly understand how painful it is to have to deal with this at the end of the school year. And so I'm sorry for that. And we need to step back and look at this process and see how do we make it easier, clearer, and more supportive for our families. The reason it is happening at this point, just so that folks know, the way the policy is written, if a student does not pass the class, they're not eligible for the waiver. If they do pass the class, they are eligible for the waiver. And so our initial thinking was we need to know which kids are eligible and which aren't based on their grades, which is why we're close to the end of the year. That being said, I think we need to rethink it, because it's a lot of anxiety and stress and back and forth and paperwork right at the end.
Right.
And so we need to figure out a different way of handling it.
Right, because they're only eligible, they're not approved, and that's the other thing.
That's right.
You know, so it's not a like, oh yeah, this is it. You know, just because you're eligible doesn't guarantee you approval.
That's right.
And I think that's the hard
maybe
piece as
there's
well.
a way for us to think about a pre-approval process.
Yeah, because they know if they failing before June. I promise you.
Some.
You know, most of the time, if you didn't fail, you probably didn't fail way before June.
So I'm sorry that this has been so difficult for you, and we will definitely go back, rethink it for next year, and make sure that we come up with a process that is not so difficult for our families.
And think about including medical leave as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, we're going to Kenya Gibson, then we're going to go to Marta Jewel, Tracy, and then Gary. Okay?
I just wanted to say, so I'm Kenya, I'm on the school board, I represent the 3rd district, and I'm also a parent of the schools, and I just wanted to make a couple of points. First, regarding accreditation, I think it's really important to also recognize that the standards changed at the state level. So when we were at 100% accreditation, folks at the state said must not be hard enough, it went up. So the bar does move, and that was a very critical piece and why we saw accreditation numbers go down. Likewise, this year, the way we're measuring accreditation is changing. So we may get more schools accredited, and part of that could be because the way that we're measuring growth and other things. So there are new factors that are involved that change, those accreditation levels. The other thing that I wanted to know, because you asked, Mr. Miner, what can we do? And I'm so thankful to see the NAACP regularly at our meetings. And I think in addition to having volunteers come read in the classroom, I want to see people at our school board meetings. I like seeing a big long line of people who trust their gut enough to say something's not right and to show up and let us know. I think that, ultimately, this problem is not a quick problem that's going to go away. And I know even when the schools were 100% accredited, there were still meetings like this with people unhappy, trying to figure out what the problem was and how we can fix it. I don't know how far back it goes. I mean, I'm curious, but it goes back a real long way. And so I think that what we as a community can do is to recognize that and to be honest, to question anytime we come and we offer a solution that sounds too easy. Because it's not going to be easy. It's not. And so what we want is we want somebody to come and tell us this is going to be hard, it's going to take a long time, and I'm not going to give you a quick fix answer. I'm going to give you a real one. That's what you should be demanding. I think we should be demanding as a community is enough with the quick fixes, because this isn't going to go away anytime quick. And then you hold us accountable. And rather than hold us accountable on, well, you said this was going to be done in 2 seconds, you hold us accountable on what we said we were going to do. Make sure that we deliver on the promises that we made to make good. I mean, I watched the video, Ms. Fields, and I was thrilled. When you said, I am his lawyer, I said, amen. So I think that ultimately, yes, volunteering is great, and yes, accountability matters, but I think we have to be very careful what we're accountable for and what our expectations are, because the fact is that we're Richmond. I mean, we're not fools who haven't been able to manage our schools, right? I mean, it's not that we don't have the intelligence to be able to do this, and to assume that is to put ourselves down. This is not an easy problem to solve. And until we recognize that, we will be here again and again and again and again. So thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to hear from you all. I want to see you on Monday nights. It's the first and third Monday of the month, typically on the 17th floor. Trust yourself. This is what Mr. Hudson always says. If it doesn't feel right, tell me, right? If something doesn't feel right, say something. Because that's really what it's going to take to be able to make change.
Okay. All right, we're going to go to, I'm sorry, let me get Councilman Newberg right quick. Then we go to Imani.
So thank you. Good evening, everyone. I want to first thank Mr. Cameron and Ms. Page and all the school board members for really developing a quality plan of action to ensure that all 24,000, all of them, not some of them, have the opportunity to be successful in a highly global, highly technological society and prepared to go forth to do that. So I want to say thank you. I know that wasn't an easy task. We have absolutely challenges that, as Ms. Gibson has raised and Ms. Page, that we have to work through. And this young lady has articulated, and we need to fix those without a doubt. But what I'm also clear about, what was a priority for me, as we deliberated with City Council, was ensuring that you got 100% of the funds that you asked for to be able to address not just facilities, right, which are important, because I'm a proud RPS student, but before they tore down Armstrong, you could have found my seat still sitting in the building. And in 2019, that's not the experience we want our children to have. But what I want to say is the plan of action was strategic and intentional relative to facilities, relative to maintenance, relative to staff, ensuring that our academic professionals who hadn't had an increase in a while got an increase. You know, so I want to say thank you for that. But for me at this point, and so I want to thank Mr. Minor because that was the first part. The next part is some of what you've heard and been mentioned. So now that the funding is there, now that there will be the accountability, now that there will be the reporting, there is a role that we all must play. There's some major challenges in 2019 that we didn't have about, well, a little older, you know, probably during the time I was growing, that once our children come into our schools, they do need some things. We have children who are traumatized, who are just at a cookout for Memorial Day. When they get to the classroom, that's going to be more than just the academic preparation. And being realistic and honest about that will be critical. And so, beyond the statement, because I'm supposed to answer a question, I'm wanting to get, subsequent to this meeting, substantive ways that we civic associations, we elected officials, we residents, we corporate partners, everyone in this community can lean in and ensure that the supports needed to mentor our children are there. And so whatever they are, I mean, it can't be it's not a casual interaction. I see all of our kids as a promise. They're at risk if we don't do collectively what we need to do to provide the supports, resources necessary for them to be successful and thrive. And so it needs to be a real plan of action following before, during, and after school programming. And all of us in. There are enough of us that every child can have a mentor, have somebody to do that walk. I know what that's like for people to see you not as at promise and possible. Accomplishment. I know what that is, but we can make that different in the lives of our children. And I'm saying, I'm all in. I know Ms. Burke is. Thank you. The school board, you demonstrated with the budget, our superintendent, the administration, and so I'm saying, enough of it. It isn't just a perfunctory, yeah, we'll come mentor. No, we need to get from you in the same way that you got Dream for our kids. That kind of plan of action that we all can embrace and be a part of. So I'm asking for that subsequent. In addition to all of the change, these things have to be correct. Get that, but that you all are the subject experts there. The part that we can do now, we need to lean in. This is serious business in 2019. I don't want to lose any of them, not one. And I'm willing to put the time in. None of us have a lot, but each person leaning in, we can do this. So. Thank you. I did say thank you first. I'm hopeful. I do thank you. I know it's been a challenge, just like it was for City Council. But what I know is collectively we can do this. And so, Mr. Minor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Look forward to the leading interest in campus. Looking forward to the plan of action. Ms. Page and school board for the community involvement engagement. We can't get there alone, but collectively we can. So thank you.
I'm going to Monty, Garrett, then we're going to Tracy, and then Candace, Lucas.
I want to say before I say anything else, normally I preface my remarks by saying and believing that excellent teaching and learning takes place in Richmond Public Schools every day. Every day. Sadly, it's just not broad-based enough. And so, to your point, Ms. Burke, schools can't fix all of this brokenness. Y'all can't do that by yourself. There's a component that community is required. We used to do it through the village. Neighbor, looking out for neighbor, helping to raise each other's children, disciplining them when they act stupid. That village has been broke for 35 years, y'all. And so we got to replace it. Now, I say that to say, I listed 3 or 4 deficiencies, I'll call it, a bit earlier. I got 6 or 7 more. My question is, Mr. President, if you would allow it, to form a subcommittee of your education committee and be an observer force to, with permission from the schools to go in and see what we can do. and devise a plan to begin to fix these problems from bottom-up community that otherwise is not going to get fixed. When mama got more money than she got money, she's in a desperate place. And that desperation filters down to those kids and out to their neighbors. And so I can take you to one or two neighborhoods that verges on the edge of failed civil society, right here. It's broke, we gotta fix it. Y'all can't fix it.
And you just,
So,
and you in
if
charge.
you would do that, I would
You are in
volunteer.
charge of the subcommittee.
Thank you very much. It's done, it's done.
Gary?
Actually, my issue was piggybacking off this young lady right here, and I appreciate you advocating for your son. However, I've been receiving phone calls all day long,
Me too.
and my issue is, even though she's been a beautiful advocate, I would not like to see any of those other children fall through the cracks because they don't have such a beautiful advocate. My thing is how come it took so long to get those waivers out? Again, just like she hit everything on the head. But my issue right now is graduation, Sunday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. These waivers are just going out. There are a whole lot of kids that are caught in that crossfire that don't have such a beautiful advocate. So what system do we have in place to catch these kids so they don't fall through the cracks, so they don't get caught up in the net? And we're talking about bringing them back next year? That's a problem. I mean, that's a real big problem. That's a really big problem. So my question to you all, what are we going to do about that? I mean, there's one person sitting back making a decision. There's a lot of kids caught out there. And I just want to know, what are we going to do to catch them before Monday? Today is Thursday. Right.
As far as the timeline, again, it's happening now because we were waiting to see who passed and who didn't, but as I shared before, obviously we need to think of a different way to approach that going forward. I will take the next 48 hours to revisit anyone who has been denied and give it another review to make sure that I can serve as their advocate in the event that it has been denied. I will tell you, over, I think it's 93% of the waivers that have been submitted have been approved. So the overwhelming majority have been approved, and we're not asking for much in terms of documentation, just a description of the issue. But to your point, I will sit and take a look at anything that was denied to give it another review to make sure that nobody was missed that shouldn't be. We are also looking very closely at if a denial will affect graduation as opposed to just it's a denial but the student will still graduate. There's also, we're looking at, well, if we denied this one, but they could make it up over summer and still graduate this summer and be able to move forward. So I will go back and look at all of those things to make sure that we've really tried to capture everybody we possibly can to get those waivers.
And I had one more thing.
Yeah.
I know the two. I appreciate your candor, your transparency, and you getting back to me. I mean, I really do. And you all know how I felt about. See, sometimes if you try to do too much, you spread yourself too thin where you're not going to be effective. And we know that there are 8 schools in the East End. There are only 3 operating PTAs. So more or less, with the East End Community Parent Teachers Organization, we advocate for those schools that don't have operating PTAs. When those disparaging numbers came out about Armstrong, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, at some point, I would like to have a public retraction, an apology to all the homeowners, to all of the students, the teachers, the administrators, to everybody that was adversely affected by that report that came out. Just as efficiently as the report went out, I want a rebut, or just as a robust, and just as an aggressive retraction to make sure that everybody understands that there are great things going on inside the East End. Our kids are not stupid. They are being taught. Our teachers are not inept, and our administrators are not walking around with their hands on their butts. All right? The report, the way that it came out, regardless of where I go in the city, somebody stops and asks me, Mr. Callis, Are they firing those teachers over there? Are they getting on it? What's going, so when that report went out, it didn't just affect the East End, it affected the whole city of Richmond. It made us look like we don't know what we're doing. So, Ms. F, again, I'm not gonna rag you, because I think that you're beautiful. And in the conversation we had today, I'm gonna let y'all know, she called me back today, just like this. She had beautiful comments, she has great ideas, and I'm willing to work with her any way I can to make things work. But however, we need to have a press release, a press conference or something that makes sure that everybody in the city of Richmond knows that our kids are being taught, our teachers are doing their job, and the administrators are doing the right things, that our council people are doing whatever, the school board people are doing whatever, that we are on the job. We need that to happen right now.
Well, we have the media here, so I'm officially saying I apologize.
No, sir, you can't do it. You can't do
I'm
it.
the only one who can. Dr. Eck reports to me. It's my responsibility.
Okay,
Okay? So this is on me.
okay.
I apologize. It was never our intention to, at all, to cast any disparagement on the incredible people at Armstrong, the incredibly talented teachers, Dr. Bell, who is doing amazing things there. I just had the opportunity to be with the top 24 students at Armstrong,
Awesome.
at the Black History Museum. Incredible people. It's not just Cordell Pogue. There's lots of other folks who are doing amazing things. Really, really incredible folks who are working really, really hard. And we have to tell more of those incredible stories about the young people, not just at Armstrong, but all across Richmond. And we have to do more to give them the opportunities that they need, because while I do apologize for how that information was put out, absolutely, the reality is we are not graduating enough kids from Armstrong until we get 100%. And it's my commitment to make sure that we do everything so that every one of those kids gets everything that they need to be successful and to go off and be able to live their dreams, whatever those dreams may be. Again, for any negative effect that report had on morale, perception, homes, individuals, I apologize. It's my fault. And I hope you accept my apology.
Yes, sir.
Tracy?
I don't have a question, I have one.
What's your,
Candace?
My statement is
can't see you.
just twofold.
Can't hear you, baby. Stand up. Can't hear you.
I can't say that's a big problem, but I got a big problem. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go with it.
I got a two-part statement. One part of the statement is, and with all due respect to everybody that spoke, I heard a lot of politically correct statements and politically correct appreciation, but what I haven't heard is factual statements that, number one, that queen over there said it best. It's not all inclusive. You always say, you come to these meetings and you say you want the community to be involved, you want agencies to be involved, you want parents to be involved. My son graduated school now, and it's disheartening to me that he's 34 and I'm still seeing the same arguments that were going on in school back then, because I know that it's not all inclusive. I know that the parents that are involved were treated disrespectfully. They act like they're guests in the inn. You know, I've even had to threaten that nothing that I carry for 9 months, you're going to dictate what happens to it. So this kumbaya, come to Jesus is a false narrative. And we need to get rid of that, number one. Then number two is, you guys come up with all of these policies, rules, and regulations for people's children without including them in. I had the same argument 20 years ago. What sense does it make to put a child out of school when a parent works? So let me get this straight. You're going to put my child out of school where he stays home with a refrigerator, an Xbox upstairs, and a PlayStation downstairs, and that benefits him how? That benefits him how? Now, I'm clear that there are some children that are problematic, and we deal with mental illness histories that you all don't want to deal with, and parents don't want to acknowledge that there's a problem with their children because they see that as a slight. I get that. But it just seems that now, 20-something years later, collectively, the village needs to come together. Because while you guys are playing with this thing, our children are being destroyed, they're being suffered, okay? The fact that you, as an administrator, cannot figure out a way with your powers to be, how to come to Jesus before Sunday, on a Wednesday, a Thursday, is just ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous. My thing is, if the NAACP had not sent out the call, if the village had not got to talking in the streets, y'all would have did nothing. Let's just call it what it is, nothing. But now that the Band-Aid is off and it exposed, now we really want to be here for your children. We really want to help you. That's not the narrative. So now how do we move forward?
Who?
Any answers? Or you want to take Candace?
Well, of course, I'm going to raise the issue of children with disabilities, and I do have to state that in all due respect, you can't hear me?
No.
In all due
The fan.
respect, in all due respect to the superintendent and Dr. Epps, the head, you guys are trying to get it right. However, you have some arsonists in your camp. Okay, you have some serious arsonists at the building level in your camp. We sounded the alarm about the graduation issues way at TJ and Huguenot almost 5-6 years ago, and we sent all of our communications to every school board member. So the school board did know. Okay, so I want to make sure we understand what's going on. Our parents would come into meetings, specifically IEP meetings, and say something's not right about graduation requirements, and they would be told, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, we already handled this. Or I even had a TJ TJ counselor get up and walk out the building stating that she didn't even want to talk to us. So when we talk about parental engagement, community engagement, you can't have it both ways at the building level. You can't say we welcome you, but only on our terms. We want collaboration, but that really means that we want you guys to comply with what we say without question, without any type of challenging. So there has to be a serious draining of the swamp in Richmond City Public Schools. Serious, at the lowest levels. And you guys know I speak to you guys all the time. I send you concerns that I have, and I'm going to voice it. But what about the children who have nobody? That's my issue. What about the children at TJ, like we stated, or at Huguenot? Huguenot is highly disrespectful to our parents, highly rude. But they smile in your face because you're the ones they think they have power. They think we're powerless. So I think that there's going to have to be a draining of the swamp, and I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but there's going to have to be a draining of the swamp because y'all can't handle it all by yourselves, and you can't keep saying that parents are not engaged when parents, the doors are being slammed in their faces, and I'm seeing it every single day. So, and I also want to thank the NAACP because the other ones aren't doing this. So I thank y'all for holding this meeting. You know I'm going to be truthful. Because we need to make sure that people understand, Richmond, you're not the only one who's having diploma issues. Henrico and Chesterfield just paid their lawyers better to hide it. That's the reality of it. I'm getting graduation issues now over in Henrico. They just sweep it under the rug back. Because we're predominantly black, black school division, there's a spotlight. But Chesterfield and Henrico are going to do the exact same thing. I guarantee you.
And I just want to say that it's not just on the lower level; it's also on the top level as well. And Marty and Candace.
One of the things that she said, and I just totally disagree with and we talked about this. We are trying to tell you how to do your job because there seems to be a false misconception that y'all don't work for us. Okay, and it's always been like that. That's what PTA meetings are for. That's for one-on-one with teachers and parents or whatever. These are employees of ours, and we've been telling you for years, we're not satisfied with the job that you're doing. Now, some of y'all have done phenomenal jobs, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. And some of you, like Cheryl said, have gone above and beyond. But the attitude to think that, my logic is, I'm telling you, if you don't get it right, you're gonna get your pink slip.
And even, and we've had this conversation before because, and I can tell you because it came up in the NAACP meeting, there's still some folks on the mid to top level who are still bullying principals, counselors. We've heard it over and over. We heard it the last meeting, and it just needs to stop. I don't know if you need to talk to some of your top staff members, but it just needs to stop. It's getting to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. I've received phone calls all day We have some counselors, some teachers here. It's ridiculous. And I don't know what the school board or you can do about it. You know, sometimes, you know, and another thing, we really don't need a lot of folks from DC coming in and telling us what to do. There's some talent here in Richmond. You know, everybody wants to be Superman and Superwoman, but yet and still we surround ourselves with kryptonite. There's some weakness here. There's some weakness here, and we've got to do whatever we can to come together to stop this foolishness. The calls are constantly coming in. Trace is getting them. Mart is getting them. Some other folks getting them. I'm getting them. And I just don't know what else to do. Is it going to continue, or is it going to stop, or is it going to cease? And that's just the bottom line. We've got to do whatever we can to help. At the end of the day, it is all about our children. But the question is it? Is it really all about our children? We've got to stop this madness. We've got to stop it. Next person, yes. We're gonna wrap this up in a few minutes. Yes, go ahead.
I guess just to speak on my experience. And so I guess kind of just piggybacking off of the other two young ladies in the corner, of being able to walk into a place and, like, even I'll use today's experience after, you know, being told that parents were not required to be there. I was pulled into the auditorium with a few other parents, and I sat in this auditorium where Harry Hughes addressed me, and his position was, you know, we didn't have this situation, anywhere else. No other parents came to any of the other schools. I've done this at Huguenot on a large scale. I've done this at Armstrong. I could not make my appointment for 7:30 this morning. I came at 10 because I had to go to John Marshall first this morning. And then the next thing was, but I need to blame somebody. So tell me who did it. Who told you you needed to be here? I'm a mom. Nobody had to tell me. You know what I mean? And so I think my bigger thing was, you should have been more excited and embracive of parents showing up than to kind of put us in a corner, and then most of them left. I did not leave. And pushed them out the door because you can't hold my son's life in your hand and then think there's no accountability. You know what I mean? I don't really know, and I'm not one of the ones that come to school, but I just show up to the school. So I go to the sources. I'm the parent. They call me the sex mom. I hand out condoms. I'm that mom. You know what I mean? That's me being real and who I am. I feed the kids. I don't wonder if you're hungry. I fix food you're gonna eat. You know, so no, I'm not gonna be there. I can volunteer at my daughter's school because she's at Chimborazo, so I do have a kid in the East End. I do what I need to do for her. But when it comes to my big babies, my teenagers, my babies who were saying the generation that's so lost, I speak for them. You know, and so that's my heart. My heart place is, yes, show up, parents. I need you all. I need this interaction. Come read to them. But when I open my mouth, I'm not enough, or I'm inadequate, or I probably can't speak. And your position to me was that you have high anxiety. You think I care about your anxiety? I have a 17-year-old son who's supposed to graduate, no record. He's supposed to go to Independence Community College to play football that he thought was gone from an ACL injury on your football field. You think I give a daggone about your anxiety? I don't.
Okay, next question. Stephen, then we'll take two more questions. We're going to wrap it on up, okay?
Well, it sounds like a part of the problem is, where's the evaluation or score? If I worked on a job and I wasn't doing my job, or I have several people coming in, obviously there's evaluation from an administration level, but where's the resources besides the parents been coming to you for several years? Generations, unfortunately. And I understand it's not you, but I'm saying going forward, what's the policy so we already know who the individuals are in the most part? Okay, we're not calling names out of respect, but we know who they are.
I think reaching out to me is actually, I think, very helpful, so that I can understand what folks are feeling and the experience that they're having. I also think meetings such as this are very helpful, and Mr. Minor, I'm more than happy to do this on a regular basis.
Okay.
I'm glad to come monthly and have the opportunity to hear from folks about what's going on and what they're hearing, what they're feeling, and where the issues are, as I do in other contexts. But I'm glad to do that, if that would work for you.
We'll provide lunch next time.
But it needs to be some type of, because obviously there's all these teachers, all these administrators, all these children, there needs to be some type of online report besides just sending you an email and evaluate, some type of score, so that you have enough score. So if we have this person here and you're getting these marks, and I'm not trying to say everybody in these marks will make is just pouty, But, okay, there's a consistent level
Yes,
here.
there is an evaluation process. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Just a few more questions. We got one right here by this little shy young lady. I'm gonna ask it for her. And I told her that sometimes you gotta speak up for yourself. When you speak up for yourself, you also speak about other way. People as well. All right, so I'm gonna ask it for her. It's a question. What about the lunches and snacks? It is just warmed up and not cooked all the way. Will you guys do anything about it? I'm a student and she's at Henderson High School. Henderson Middle School. I'm sorry, I'm thinking John Marshall. Henderson Middle School.
Yes, and we'll take that down and see what's going on at Henderson. And I'm sorry that food hasn't been fully cooked because it absolutely should be so. I will take it back to our nutrition team to make sure that's something that we work on. Okay? What's your name? Christina. Thank you for the question, Christina.
Christina White.
All right. Thank you, Christina.
All right. Are there any more? I want to hear from staff and counselors that you administrators. Anyone has anything to say or? Okay.
The counselors and ratios in the high schools. What is the plan to create equity? Right now, Georgia's high school, our average caseload is 370 students. One counselor in our office actually has 380. Across the river at John Marshall, their average caseload is 198. There's 3 counselors at Marshall and there's 3 counselors at Witt. The burden that it puts on us as counselors is immense. We're working hard to get some of the basic things done, which really include at this point data. And we feel like our true jobs as counselors, where we're supposed to provide social emotional support, academic support, and career readiness opportunities for our students, is being neglected because our volumes are so huge that there are things that we should be doing for students that we're just not able to do.
Thank you for the question. You're right. We do have imbalance across our schools, and one of the things we do need to look at, certainly with our counselors, but it's also true with assistant principals and other roles. How do we provide the right balance so that the ratios are equitable across the school system? I think that's something that we're going to have to look at over the course of this year in preparation for the following year. And then I also think, as necessary, there might be additional positions that need to be added to help alleviate some of that burden. So this is something squarely on the agenda for this year to try to figure out as we move forward.
And I know that in the fall we do count. We
Yes,
count,
that's right.
drop, stop, and count.
Yes.
And then by the end, I think of September, based on the numbers, we start doing some moves to balance
Do some
that.
leveling out.
Can something like that be considered, so if we're a little more proactive in a more timely manner?
We're trying to do some of that now, because we already know some of the imbalances, and so if we can do a little bit of that now so that it's not as jarring in September, but sometimes we don't know exactly what the numbers will be until the fall. So we're, again, trying to do a little bit now and then a little bit in the fall.
Because right now, we're population of 1,100 with 3 counselors, and some of our schools on the other side of the river are populated at 600 with 3 counselors.
Mr. Gray?
I was at the school board meeting on Monday, and I think in the public hearing, the last comment from one of the administrators or teachers, it was that there were 5 counselors and 2 of them had to leave or was let go, and the load on the other counselors was went up because the other 2 counselors left and you didn't hire anybody else.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that was referencing, so, but whatever positions are vacant, we will make sure to fill in time for next year.
All right, this time I wanted to recognize the first female president of Richmond City Council, Michelle Moses, who's here. Thank you for coming. Another former council person is back from the first district. We have Bruce Tyler, who's also in charge of community caring here in Richmond, Virginia. Bruce. We also have Dr. Antoinette Irvin, who's also a product of Richmond Public Schools, who attended Armstrong Kennedy High School, if you will. Her nickname she's the Wonder Woman of this city. How about that? I first, let me say thank you to the school board and to Mr. Cameras and to the administration for coming. Hopefully we can do more of these. I told you there wasn't going to be one of those griping attack sessions, you know, but folks did have some concerns. And also, just want to thank you again for coming tonight. I'm going to wrap this up. Chairwoman Page, could you? Yes.
I would just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, for sharing their concerns and showing their support for our children. And, you know, we talked about changes to the SOLs, and that may have impacted accreditation. But you know what? We can't continue to make excuses, because our children can excel no matter what. And I'm a parent first. So I look through this role from the eyes of a parent. My children had a good experience in Richmond Public Schools, and that's the same experience I want for each and every child that attends Richmond Public Schools. And I'm serious about that. But again, yes, we're politicians. Sometimes I don't think like one, because I'm a parent first. But I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And alumni, we need our alumni. As Ms. Burke said, Dr. Burke, Ms. Newville, she left out. But we need everyone to bring about positive change. And accountability. Accountability is hard. It is truly hard. We can't continue to do the same thing that we have been doing for the past years. We got to change it up, because what we've been doing hasn't been working. But again, I just want to thank you all for the support, and we look forward to the next meeting. And yes, thank you again, JJ, to the NAACP.
I do want to say that I'm going to be sending you and Mr. Cameras a letter in reference to the persons not here tonight, but all school board members and city council persons who are welcome to show up. However, the NAACP also has some concerns with one of your school board members who seems as if he gets a joy out of expelling our children. We need to look into that, because if that's the case, then this is election season, and we need to take it to the box, the ballot box, and vote this upon out. Plain and simple. It's no joke anymore. These are our children. Every student, every child, every parent, every corporate person, every community leader. It's now time to stand up and take up our children and do what's right. And I understand we have some hard-headed children. All children, you know, they go through things, but to expel all of them and you just, I have a problem with that. Yeah. I really do. And I know that you're not on board with that. I know that some of the other school board members are not on board, but you know who I'm talking about, right? Right. You don't have to say it, but we want to ask. We want to ask for some information as far as how many children have been expelled under, I guess, when he's on that board, or I don't know if he's in charge of it, but folks have been giving us some serious information, and we need to act on it. God bless you all. Thank you.
One question.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
So when is the next NAACP meeting? If we're not involved, how do we get involved?
No. Well, first of all, you are a member.
I know. I'm just speaking for
Patrick's a member. Don's a member. Jason, I think you're coming on board too, right?
Yeah, I'm just coming.
Yes.
King will be a member soon.
I like it.
Okay. We meet every second Tuesday at the Northside Library for executive committee meetings only. Every fourth Tuesday we meet at the 5th Street Baptist Church, which is the Grace Center. 1307 Victor Street, which is over in the north side. So we're asking all of you all to come on board and join us. There's a train moving. We want you all to get on board. Okay?
And
yes,
one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to publicly thank City Council for funding our strategic plan and because we know in the past it has not been easy. So I'd like to thank them publicly.
Again, and Delegate Dolores McCrane, who is also here, I think she's outside somewhere, but she told me to tell you all hello too as well. Good to see you, Amy Winston. God bless you all. Good night. Thank you so much.